As you may notice that we have some more equipment because this session is going to be a live streaming on Facebook of Salto. And now, already started. So, to start for the conference that we would like to give you more idea about the NEET situation in different dimensions. So we have today 3 guest speakers. One is Ms. Burcu Oy. She will be talking about the NEET issues in Turkey with a perspective from Turkey. Mr. Goldring, he will be more presenting us what's happening in European dimension. And Mr. Ozgehan Senyuva will be talking more about the impact of youth work, how youth work somehow influenced the situation of NEET. Maybe positive, maybe negative, we don't know. So, not taking so much time, I would like to give floor to our first guest speaker, Ms. Burcu Oy, and she will be presenting us the NEET situation in Turkey.
Thank you. First of all, I am very glad to be here again. I have been here 4 years ago as a guest speaker again, and at that time I had been working at Youth Studies unit at Bilgi University. Now I am a freelance monitoring and evaluation expert and also doing some research, continue to my research in the field of young people. Actually, today I'm trying to talk about special features for Turkey, for NEET youth in Turkey, and what are the determinants and consequences of being a NEET in Turkey. And while doing this, I will refer to 2 different studies I have been a part of. One of them is actually the study we had published in 2017, and I also have mentioned it before when I was here 4 years ago. And in that study, we tried to somehow create a framework for NEET youth in Turkey, about the definition of it, how to measure it, and the determinants and consequences of being a NEET in Turkey. And since last year, I have been a part of another project. It's Youth Participation Index project, research in Employ Youth project. Employ Youth project is a project where a Community Volunteers Foundation is a partner of it. And in there, we have index research where different determinants, again, different variables about participation of young people in terms of political, economic participation and social participation of young people. So, first of all, about the definition of the concept, we all know that the unemployment is not an adequate definition and variable to talk about the situation of young people, but we need a broader concept, and NEET have been on the agenda of Turkey actually from the early 2000s, in the first part of 2000s, and we had a UNDP study in 2008, and from that on, actually, we know that the young people, a majority of young people in Turkey, are not employed and not in education and training. But for the measurement of it, actually across Europe, even across Europe, we have not not a common and the same age groups. We use different age groups. For example, in previous years in UK, the age group for NEET youth was between 16 and 80. In Turkey, we used to use the age group between 80 and 24, but to be more compatible with Eurostat data, we started to use the age group between 15 and 29 from actually in the last 5 years and so on. So Turkstat also started to use to publish data for young people between ages 15 and 29. So in the previous studies, it's a established phenomenon that being female, having low levels of education, coming from disadvantaged family backgrounds, being immigrants, having some disabilities, residing in rural areas, these are all determinants of being a NEET. So these are raising the chances of a young person to be a NEET. And in our work, where the field study of our research was in 2016, and it was a nationwide study. And in that study, we tried to also test whether these determinants are also same in Turkey for Turkey NEET, and have this field study. And there we have the NEET ratio was at that time 27% and 41 for women and 14 for men. You can see the big difference between men and women at that time too. And in that study, actually, we also find that gender has an important role. So being a woman in Turkey, a young woman in Turkey is a very important determinant that is affecting whether you become a NEET youth or not. Educational attainment, which is actually, we have to also talk about intersectionality between these different determinants, because if you are a woman, a young woman, then the probability your educational attainment is lower is high than compared to young men. Marriage, again, marriage is very negatively affecting your employment status in Turkey. If you are a married woman, you are 6 times more likely to be a NEET youth compared to unmarried young women. And household economy, if you are coming from again, disadvantaged family, then the chances that you become a NEET youth, it becomes higher. And what are the consequences of being a NEET? One of them is trust. Trust in the community, trust in your surroundings. When you are a NEET person, then your trust is decreasing. You have limited trust in your society, and these also limit your the chance, the opportunities, your ability to use the opportunities around you. And when you are a NEET person, then your level of political participation is also very low. It's not, I mean, with political participation, it's not just about voting. It's also about signing a petition. It's about becoming a member or a volunteer in a civil society organization and so on. When you are NEET, then your chances are low that you are a member of a civil society organization. And your thought about political efficacy is low too, again. if you are a NEET person, then your political efficacy levels also decrease. So, what is the implication of it? It's a democracy deficit, actually. Because it means you are a disadvantaged youth and you have problems to solve, but you don't have the mechanisms and chances to politically participate and talk about these problems of your own. So if you cannot talk about your problems, how can you, and if you cannot be the agency of that problems to solve these problems, how can you improve your situation? So it's a democracy deficit, it implies. And the Youth Participation Index, I talked before, it started in 2016, and it started as a tool that can be used by public authorities and also civil society organizations to monitor, identify, and monitor the challenges related with participation. And with participation, I mean political participation, economic participation, and social participation. And of course, NEET rate is among one of the most important indicators of this economic participation. And when we look at this Youth Participation Index, it's an index composed of this political, economic, and social participation. And according to the Europe data, actually the average, the mean of European Union data is 81. And Turkey is, and also the other West Balkan countries have very low percentages, but Turkey is also one of the lowest percentages among that countries too. In the general youth participation index data, and one of these important parts of this index is economic participation. And about the economic participation, we can see again the discrepancy is very big. The Turkish general economic participation rate for 2021 was 5.3, while the European Union average was 43.5. That much discrepancy. And when we look at the different indicators of this economic participation, one of them is NEET rate. And we can see in Turkey, the general NEET rate was 31.9 in in the last year actually. Also, we have high youth employment rates, long-term youth employment rates are also very high. And labor force participation rates are rather low. And when we look at the changes in the rates of NEET in the last 5 years, we can see, unfortunately, Turkey also, but the other West Balkan countries have an increasing trend. This trend continues to be very alarmingly high. And one of the most striking issues about the youth unemployment rates and NEET rates is the discrepancy between men and women. As you can see in the table graphic, the next one. As you can see here, in most countries there are differences between men and women, but in Turkey, this difference between men and women is like twofold. And when you look at, I will also mention the exact percentages, but when it's like twofold, actually I can say. And when we compare the economic activity rates of young women and young men, in the next slide, we can see also the same discrepancy there. Men's economic activity levels are twofold higher than compared to economic activity levels of women. And what are special features for Turkey? First of all, Turkey is have a rather youth population. It's when you compare it to European Union averages, it's still 23% of the general population of Turkey is still young people. But it's a transition period, and it's decreasing actually. So in future, it will be very difficult to say that Turkey has a young population anymore. But the percentages of disadvantaged young people among this youth population is increasing. So the percentage of youth is decreasing, but the percentage of disadvantaged youth among this young population is increasing. Percentage of youth living under poverty is around 20% again, and as you can see, it's again higher for women, young women. Turkey is one of the countries among OECD countries which with lowest public expenditures on education, and also Turkey has very high dropout rates at high school especially. And we know that educational attainment is one of the predictive factors of being a NEET. Marriage rate for young women is again twofold compared to for men. 30% of young women are married, but just 15% of young men are married. And another special feature for Turkey is unemployment rates among university students. Being a university student doesn't guarantee you to have a job anymore. It's very high. General rate is 22 or 23, and it's again higher for women. So if you are a university graduate woman, then the chances are very high they're employed in future. And the rate of youth not in labor force among university students is very high too. It's also a special feature just for Turkey. It's again 21, around 21. And we know that women mostly are working in the service sector and agriculture in Turkey, and men mostly in industry. And also, unfortunately, most of the young women who are working in agriculture are just working as unpaid family workers. So, pardon. So, taking our time considerations into account, I just want to briefly mention, but then what are the common practical interventions, public interventions or interventions by civil society organizations in the last years? Yeah, it's true, it's on the public agenda now. Now, the Ministry of Youth and Sport is also talking about the situation of needs, and they have some programs, special programs to cope with this problem. But most of these programs are focusing on university students, because they see university students are as potential needs, and it's actually very bad situation, because being a university student is actually not a determinant of being a need normally. But here in Turkey, if you are at a university, then your chances becoming a need in near future is very high. So interventions are focusing on university students and school-to-work transition and building some soft skills among of young people. But then, where are the disengaged youth then? They are nowhere. So disengaged youth, I mean, who don't have a hope that they can have a job, who quit the employment market because they are married, because they are women. So they are really disengaged. They are not looking for a job. We know that in most of the European countries, NEET people are searching for jobs. They are seeking jobs. But in Turkey, the majority of NEET people are not seeking for a job. So it's because it's a structural problem. And for the recommendation, actually, I just want to say that we need a holistic policy which targets problems like poverty, employment, gender equality, autonomy. You have to mention all of them and to have a holistic policy to tackle with this issue. And policies have to drive from the needs and demands of different needs groups. So we need more data. Needs youth are not a homogeneous group. There are different groups among needs youth, and so they have different needs and different demands. We have to have more data, and I think other than the researches by the academicians and civil society organizations, we need to have action research where young people are the agencies of this research. Young people are the agencies of their lives. And also we have to have these community building programs in different localities to reach young people, needs young people, because we know in their situation, it's not so easy to become a member of a civil society organization, but in their localities, to have these community building programs will empower their skills. And we have to collaborate with different public agencies and civil society organizations to cope with this problem. And I know I have no time anymore, so I quit here for your questions, if you have questions. Yeah.
Where is it?
Thank you. Serdar from Mardin. Just the question for the last part that you just indicated, the youth is not seeking a job, like the majority of the youth is not seeking. What's the indicator of this result? Where did you get this information, or?
It's actually in the this youth participation index. We use Turkstat statistics to be able to compare them among different countries, because Turkstat is also giving information to Eurostat, so it's a compatible data. So the percentages I refer to come from Turkstat data.
And if the percentage of unemployment rate is close to the NEET rate, it somehow means that like more NEET people also searching for a job. So it's also like from the margin helps you to understand.
Just it's my idea that like the Turkish Statistic Institution is just collecting the information that the unemployment number from the İşkur is a job agency in Turkey. Because this information is not reflecting the reality sometimes, that youth is not seeking a job, that when they have not completed the profile, that means this young person is not seeking a job. So this kind of information then sometimes is reflecting like different results.
Yeah.
Or just manipulated the results sometimes.
Actually, it is not like an excuse. It's a very it shed light a bigger problem, because when I say that young people are no longer seeking a job, it means they quit. Because, for example, we have some data. They are asking, Turkstat is asking young people, why are you not a part of the labor market? And one of the reasons for that is household responsibilities. And guess what? 27% of women say, yes, because of these household duties, I am not seeking a job in the labor market. These are young women. And so this is a very bigger problem, actually. They are not seen, they are not recognized. Also, family or personal reasons. Women say, 13% of women are saying, because of family issues, I'm not looking for a job. And none of men said that because of household duties, I'm not looking for a job. None of men. Yeah? So it's a bigger problem, actually. And also, I have to say that unemployment is still high. So there is still a high percentage of young people who are searching for a job but couldn't find it.
We have 2 minutes left, so
my question was, I think across Europe there is always disparities between men and women who are NEET because of family factors. But why do you think it's so different in Turkey for it being such a large gap?
I think it's about the gender equality policies. And also here about the household responsibilities, about the marriage. We can see there are some policies. For example, if you are young women and then get married, and after your marriage, in 1 year, after the first year of your marriage, you can say, your firm, I'm quitting my job. Then you have get paid for that, because you are saying, I quit my job because I'm married now. Then you can have payment from that firm for women. So it actually reinforces young women not to work, but to get married, and they are reinforcing always this, the women's role at home, at closed doors, not public. They're always, all the policies are reinforcing this, unfortunately.
I have a question about one point in your statistic. There was written that 30% of the young women are married, but only 15% of the men. So I assume that in Turkey it's like in other countries as well, that 50% of the population are females and 50% are male. So how does it work? To whom are these women married?
It's just for young women. So they are married to older men because of that. And for men here in Turkey, it's like you first get a job, you graduate, you first get a job, your military job and so on. Then afterwards you get married. But for women, after you get married, then you have to at home, you stay at home, do your household duties and raise your child and so on. So it's very different for men and women, therefore.
Okay, thank you very much. We will come back to Burcu towards the end of the session, but there will be another 10-15 minutes that we will have like a general question and answers.